We're talking about the box squat today. Now, the box squat is a very high value movement for group programming, especially for folks that have not used their posterior chains and haven't developed that musculature yet. So this is a great movement to develop the glutes, hips, hamstrings, and adductors. And it also allows us to do a few other things from a performance standpoint. First thing is we're breaking up the phases of the lift, okay? So eccentric and concentric phases of the lift are broken up. So we're essentially not using elastic energy that is accumulated through that eccentric range. Now, what this allows us to do is it allows us to teach people how to reverse that action and build their force development by not using the stretch shortening cycle, okay? So that's really a great benefit to it from a performance standpoint is rate of force development, but we're also not allowing people to use the same loading, okay? So they're easy to recover from. We can get strength adaptation from it. We can get a force development adaptation, but we can also focus on developing that musculature. That's going to be very important for longevity, as well as relieving a lot of lower back pain in people. Now, there's a number of ways that we can do this. We can do it with a front squat. We can do it with a back squat. We can do it with different height boxes. But really, for this video, I want you guys just to understand how it's executed, the point of it, as well as some teaching cues that you can give to your clients. So what we want is, we want to set up with about a parallel box. Now, box heights are going to range based on the person's anthropometrics. So someone that has really short limbs might need a lower box versus someone that has really long limbs. So just keep that in mind that I'll give you a standard range for box height, but if we're going for a parallel box, you're going to have to look at the individual to decide whether it's high enough or it's needs to be lower. So just keep that in mind that there's no one size fits all for any of this stuff. But I'm using a 16-inch box, which is going to put me at parallel. So this is what it should look like. So a few things to note. More times than not, we're going to set up with a wide stance. Again, we're really working on posterior chain, so we want to make sure that there's less quad involvement than there would be if we went with a closer stance. Second thing is we're going to push the hips back to the box. Okay, this is really an important point because we don't want people to drop straight down and initiate with the knees. We want them to engage the glutes and really turn on the hamstrings and push the hips back to the box. So this box is almost like a tactile cue. Second thing is we're going to sit back on the box. So when we sit back, we're essentially releasing the hips, breaking up that phase is releasing that elastic energy, and then we're going through concentric range of motion. When I sit on the box, I'm not getting sloppy or relaxed. We're still keeping lower back tight. Okay, there's still an arch here. There's no flexion, and exploding through concentric range of motion. So again, make sure stance is wide enough. No one should be flopping down like this. It should be a little more control to the movement, and wide stance is the way we want to go. Now, vertical shin, a lot of times we want a vertical shin because we want to make sure that they're getting good posterior chain involvement. However, not everyone's going to be able to go with that wide of a stance to get a vertical shin. They might be very uncomfortable, they might be in pain. So you need to adjust the stance based on the person. All right, so start with a regular stance and then we can progressively work our way out and go with a wider stance. Our people in group programming aren't power lifters, all right? So we don't need to go ultra wide all the time. It's nice to do it once in a while, but just keep that in mind that don't get hung up on the joint angle of the shin. Don't worry if it's not completely vertical. They're still going to get a ton of bang for buck out of this movement just by doing it and executing it correctly.